Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Dylan. You know, we didn't get any emails from last week on our request to the listening audience of any questions you have on Sunburn.
I did not know that, but
Now you do.
now I do. I guess I would have come to, like the distribution list, so...
I thought you were going to say
we got an email.
You would have sent in a fake.
No.
No.
I'm not surprised, though.
I will give a tip. We pointed out a game last week during the new releases. I think it was it Panera's Dragon? Pinkara's Dragon? Was that a Sunburn game? Barkunis' Dragon that we pointed out last week.
I cannot remember
in 2D mode.
If I'd known this, yes.
It
yes,
used it
is.
in 2D mode, and it had some seams at the tiles.
Yes.
And this was just getting the wrap state set correctly for the texture wrapping. And basically you want to just kick it over to point wrapping. And there's some easy configuration values. And actually, if you go in the forums of Sunburn, you can find my questions on this exact topic. So the point is that you can do a very well done, polished looking game in 2D with the Sunburn engine and take advantage of some 3D perspective, that kind of Paper Mario 2.5D.
And they did use some things that actually looked almost 2D or 3D.
Yeah, they definitely had the parallaxing
exactly
is almost
what they were using.
Almost like they got the parallaxing for free because it's actually at different depths. It's not just a faked 2D effect. It's at different depths. But that's something that you may not know about the Sunburn engine, is that you can go in and use it just as easily for 2D as you can for 3D. And later in this show, we're going to talk about Orbitron Revolution, which is one of the most graphically polished games I have ever seen released for Xbox Live Indie Games, and it was done using the Sunburn engine. So go out and take a look at Orbitron Revolution and get a real idea of what this engine is capable of. You can look just like the AAA big boys with it. There's no reason that you can't. You can go find out more at synapsegaming.com. All right, everyone. Welcome to the show this week. I apologize for starting a little late here. We were recording a special video before we came on. We got a video coming up. We were playing RockSmith and felt like it'd just be fun just to shoot a video of us both playing RockSmith. You've been playing guitar 2-3 years?
Probably 2 years.
2 years?
I think it's...
did I give you the first guitar?
Yeah, I think you were looking for some microphone stands, and you were like, "Hey, do you want this?" I couldn't sell it. I'm like,
yeah,
I kind of wanted to learn.
I gave you a crappy old guitar that is sitting there going, and no, I literally could not take it to a pawn shop. They were like, "Get that crap out of here. We don't want it." Couldn't get $25 from it. So you played on that for a little bit, but I think very quickly you bought.
Well, I bought. It was at one of Guitar Center's big sales. Like, I bought an electric guitar just because I'd never played on one, and I kind of wanted to compare the two. And I actually do play the acoustic more. I keep the acoustic in my room, and I keep the...
I find my acoustics easier to quickly pick up and play, but I like playing the electric more.
I think my problem, and part of it has to do with starting out with that acoustic, is... I feel, and it just may be that I've got a crappy amp because it was this little starter set, but I feel like I use too much pressure for the electrics, or for at least for my electric, or for the strings that came with it first, which were probably very light, and I feel like I push down too hard and everything comes out wrong because I'm like bending.
Yeah. So that is an actual issue on depending on the strings and the gauge that you got, that you can push so hard that you. Because you just need a light touch to hold it across the fret and all that. Yeah. So I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is that you're kind of starting, and I've been playing guitar.
That's so funny.
It's on topic.
Yeah, they want you to just take the guitar. No, you'll get plenty of video. We did video of us playing RockSmith, so you'll get plenty of video of us with our guitars. And I've been playing since I was 18.
But you were
maybe 19. 18, 19 is when I picked up an acoustic, a crappy, awful acoustic, very similar to the way you did. Played that for 3-4 months, and then bought. I'd saved up a lot and bought an electric. Now I never practice much more outside of a year, so it was like a good solid year of diligent practicing, enhancing my skill, and got to a mediocre level, a high C, low B skilled player, and then that was kind of enough to impress chicks at parties and, you know, screw around a little bit and impress friends and you know, blow off some steam and have some fun. I did, when I was in Korea, take my guitar to local blues bars and sit in with some blues players and do all of that, but I never, you know, decent. And anytime I thought I was sounding pretty good, and I said with these guys, like, man, I'm the only reason I'm here is because they like having an American in the bar, and he brings all his friends, and, you know, and they're happy to buy me a drink and let me sit and play on there if all my friends are coming. But I've been playing now 15, 16 years, off and on like that, you know, so it's pretty good. So I'm coming at it. I had never played RockSmith before on the video, but I'm coming at it with a lot more experience, and I found that I think I could get into it. Like, I actually am more interested in it than I was before, because before I was kind of turned off by the limited set list. Like, I was like, how much is there really going to be for this? Because you've got, what, 30, 40 songs to start with?
Actually, like I said, I like the set list better because they've got, you know, the Stones, they've got the Animals, they've got Cream.
They've got a good selection. That's true.
It feels like, okay, whereas Rock Band Pro Mode was like, here we've bolted this thing onto what is essentially a party game. This feels like the game you get if you are really into it. Like, it feels like sitting down with someone who really knows, like, their stuff.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. This is playing the guitar. This is not a game anymore. There's some points and score at it, but it's really just unlocking difficulties in the song and getting you up.
It looked like you were more unlocking the computer's confidence in your abilities.
That's a good way of putting it. Like, because you have to get so many points to qualify for different things, and basically what you want to do is play a song enough until you've built up to a certain level that it is actually possible to get that many points, because it adds and removes notes. Right.
So the better you play, the more it'll give you a more accurate. I'll say accurate. It'll give you a more complete set of notes to play.
Yeah.
I think after a while I can get used to it. And I think, you know, it could do a good bit for me to break my habit of looking at my hands, because I am self-taught for the most part. Yeah. So I've stared at my fingers almost the entire time that I play. Not after I've learned a song. I don't need to stare that much, but I'm just more comfortable in that position. But definitely learning a song, I can't read the notes and play them at the same time when I'm trying to learn, and that was a challenge on there, but I think if I stuck with it, that would break me of that habit pretty easily, because as we went on, it's easy. It's at a low difficulty level. It's just hit a few notes that it would coax me up and break some bad habits.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way for me. I mean, like, I learned chords first, so I don't understand, you know, I have no clue about, like, single notes and stuff like that, so I actually do have to look down for that. Chords, for the most part, I'm fine with, and I've kind of gotten, like, I've hit a certain level with chords where it's like, I don't want to go back and learn how to do all the, you know, single notes, lead guitar type stuff, because it just feels like such a huge step down, but this actually forces me to do it.
Yeah, and that's the downside. If you know some of the songs that are on there, you have to prove it at the lower levels before it ranks you up. It did not seem like I got penalized, though, on Sunshine of Your Love that much for playing extra notes, but I had to I could not miss the notes that I was supposed to play.
I don't think it does penalize you from that, and in fact, I think you can kind of cheat it in certain ways. Like, if you play a note and let it sustain, it'll hit, you know. Now,
it plugs in as a USB device.
Right.
I would be curious to know if under XNA that shows up as a microphone, and you could actually get access to that.
I'll tell you that the first thing I did, actually, when I got it, because like I said in the video, I
Such a fucking geek. First thing you did is you got it and you fired up XNA.
No, I did not fire up XNA, but I fired up Audacity and, like, okay, what does this show up as? How can I get at this?
Still geeky.
Still geeky. I've actually wanted to do that just so I could, you know, I don't I'm not going to record anything that I'm going to use more than like throwing up on a podcast or something. But it's still kind of cool to have that to play around with, and like I said, if you buy one of those cables, it's going to run you $30 or $40. This one you pay like 30 or 40 more and get a game.
You do. I would say my kind of verdict on it from just playing it once is that if you play guitar, this is probably worth picking up. The cable, like you said, is useful on the PC. You can use it with other music software, so you can just plug it in. If you spend a little bit more and you get the Apple version of the cable, Apple makes a cable that is USB and iPod dock combined. So you could actually take your iPhone, and I finally have mine right there. Check it. You want it. You want to touch it. You want to be it, but you can't have it.
Actually, I don't.
You just live in denial. But you could connect into the port here and load up GarageBand on there, and that actually runs an amp simulator.
Yeah.
So you could actually change your amp simulators, pedals, all of that virtual.
This actually has that feature in there when you get in and you unlock
Yeah,
it.
we didn't check into that, but you got a free play mode where you can just use it as a foot pedal type.
Don't know that that cable would work with this game. I'm not 100%.
Well, no.
Sure
The Apple cable has two ends on it. One is USB, so you can plug it into the Mac and use GarageBand there, and then the other is for the iPad. So you pay a little bit more. I think where this cable was $30, Apple's is like $60. So you're going to pay double, but if you had an iDevice, then I mean, for me, that's kind of interesting. Now that I got the iPhone to get GarageBand, because I went to our local guitar center on a class that they had, and I didn't realize going in it was like it was recording or producing or something. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of curious to go in there and see what they're showing off. And the software that they were using in that session was GarageBand to demo that, and they were showing all their different instruments hooked up into GarageBand. And I had no idea that it had that level of support for all these instruments being plugged in, and that it had sound effect boxes and cabinet simulators, and that you could create a little a portable rig. And that's kind of a cool idea. It's like you can just backpack with your guitar, and you've got your iPhone or your iPad, and you got your speaker out on that, so there's your pocket amp.
You can record, maybe not like the highest level of professional, but you don't need like the whole recording studio and rig and everything.
Well, I just mean even just like taking your guitar somewhere to play, and I want to play the electric. I don't want to take the acoustic. I prefer my electric, but
yeah.
I've got no way to make sound without dragging along an amp, and then you got to find a place to plug the amp in and all of that. Like I can take care of all of that just with the iPhone or something. If I've got something to jack the speakers into, I guess I still need speakers. I don't know.
You might at that point. Yeah,
it might not matter. I might check more into GarageBand for.
I was going to point out, you can go on ThinkGeek for like $40 and buy a and basically something that plugs into your jack on your guitar, and then you can plug a headphones or speakers into it. So
if you download Hypership Out of Control, it will make that iPhone run even faster. It is a proven fact. That is what Chonard's doing, some cross promotion there, fun-infused games. So
has anyone griped at us for getting off on like?
No, I think we're good. We're a developer-focused podcast now. We can talk about anything the fuck we want. Indie games. So we got plenty in store. Big news this week. This is kicking off Captain Dubstep week. You may not have realized it. It's not on the calendar. It's not a federal holiday yet this year. It's a damn do-nothing Congress. Can't get them to approve Captain Dubstep week. But I have taken off vacation.
No. Captain Dubstep was added to the pledge in 1950. It hasn't been there since the beginning. I don't think they have any reason to...
but if Francis Scott Key knew of dubstep, he definitely would have... We would have a dubstep anthem. That's what I'm saying. Yes. But I've taken off the whole next week, and I'm just going to shut myself up in the office here and plow through as much as I can get to see how far I get into what I've got. I've sketched out a lot of what I want the game to be. So really, it's just building. Like I kind of have a set plan and a set vision for what I want to be, and we'll see where I'm at the end of the week. We'll see how far I get. This is You know, because part of the problem working regular jobs and doing this as a hobby is that you always say to yourself, man, if I just did this full time, you know how much shit I would get done, you know, like, because I only work a few hours at night, at best, on any kind of game dev.
I'm the same way. Like, I will take, you know, spells of weeks where I'm really productive and then weeks where I do absolutely nothing, and it's
But I mean, I've got
terrible.
3 girls. I was taking one to the doctor this week, and
He took one to
You're
the
in
doctor
a
because
much
I was
worse
taking the
position.
other one for her
Right, yeah.
1-year-old checkup.
and they need to be fed. You got to get them to school, you know. You've got to pick them up
They
from
are
daycare.
not self-sufficient at all.
Kids are
How
not
dare
really
they?
efficient. I mean, kids, you think the kid just takes care of itself, you know, because you have like a dog, and you know, like I
They
just got to
used
remember
to be
feed
more
it. But
self-sufficient. Remember when Mom would say, "Go fend for yourself or die"?
so,
It's horrible. Wow.
so I don't get as much time to work on the games, but I've taken off all next week. My 2 older daughters will be, of course, at their mom's house. Cicely will watch, you know, Jasmine. And I just told her, basically, like, I'm at work. I'm going to come in here and close the doors, and I'm not here, except when I come out for coffee, which she might be shocked the amount of coffee that I
It'll
drink
be every
during...
30 minutes.
Yeah. I may move the coffee maker down here. I'm going to move the
I'm not
Xbox in the room.
surprised at you drinking coffee. You got that one-shot thing, so you're just going to use the big one on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to hook up the big one because I need to just come up and refill. Normally, on the weekends, I drink like a cup. And I may only do that like one day out of the weekend. But, which reminds me, we're low on coffee beans. And that's going to need to be stocked up for Captain Dubstep Week. That's actually traditional. That's actually a tradition of Captain Dubstep Week is to...
I like how you state it like it's her job. Like,
Well, it
Well,
is.
I go to the grocery store.
She does do the grocery
but I
store.
still want to stuff this up your butt.
She does go to the grocery stores. I cook quite a bit, though.
Yes, he does.
right.
So-
I just
That's
thought
what we trade off.
the first thing she did after you said that was hold up the alcohol bottle. So
Yeah.
good to know that you guys are, you know, like functioning.
I am gonna... So I'm gonna shut down completely. Like, no... IRC is not gonna be open. Bunch of the windows will be closed unless I'm taking a break. Unless I, you know, I'm like gonna take a break and do some other things for a bit. Which I do have another project that's kind of come on late. Not ready to talk about it just yet. I want to get a little bit further along before I talk about it on the podcast. But it'll probably be posted in the forums at some point because I need to get it up relatively fast. So I'll take a break from that, and then I'll be, you know, online, on chat, on Twitter then. But I'm going to shut all that stuff off, and it's just going to be dubstep. But what I am going to do is take my video camera and then just do little dubstep diaries. The dubstep diaries. And just, you know, do like a little 5-minute check-in, you know, just do a Blair Witch style, hold the cam, shaky.
I've got so much caffeine in me.
I think this is gonna, like, 6 months from now, you should go back and watch this and, like, you know, just
Watch this video, or...
no, like,
those.
like,
Well, if it, you know, depending on where it gets, I'll release the videos out as the Dubstep Diaries. Movie deal pending, you know. I think George Clooney would play me. I think, really. You could
In
get
already
your
got the video.
dreams.
You could get John Travolta, though, because he did play in, what was it, Hackers?
He'll play anything.
Swordfish or
Yeah,
whatever.
Swordfish.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe he could do a hacker with style, Swordfish. So, you know, I'll talk. We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll see who's available, you know, and we'll see where that goes. But, yeah, so the main thing is just to see how far that I get on that. Because, really, part of scaling out of the review business and saying, like, hey, we're going to be very developer-focused is we're not going to be XNA-centric anymore, and it's not going to be Xbox Live indie game-centric, because the future does not look good there.
To put it mildly.
Yeah. We did get some love, I guess you would call this love. We got an article.
We're to the point where if they don't hit us,
we got
is that what you're
some
saying?
content here that they posted an article on how to market your game and get your app noticed here. And, you know, make a website and don't overlook your product's name. Polish your press releases. And, you know, basically, like, and I don't know if they mean it this way, but it comes off of as like, hey, if you just do some of these things, your game will be highly successful. And it has nothing to do with the fact we're about to bury the shit out of you when we do a dashboard update again, and that we segregate you from all games, and we treat you like second-class citizens.
Third class.
Yeah, you're not even citizens. You know, we're deporting you. We're going to be deported is essentially what's happening. I don't know. But what was more interesting... That was
Xbox
kind
Live
of,
Indie Games, the Arizona of gaming platforms.
that was kind of like a weak slap, like have an intern write some garbage and put it up.
It was for the WordPerfect 7 developers and us.
It does mention Xbox in there. There is some actual direct mentions to Xbox on it, but
Did
it
you
does
just say
have.
WordPerfect?
I think I did.
Yeah, just let it go, man.
This is how I keep saying. I keep calling the newest Call of Duty MechWarrior
pomegranate,
3.
man. The pomegranate.
Windows Phone 7 and WordPerfect 7 looked like the same thing in a drunk person's head.
The phone that is not an iPhone. There we go. And not a Droid. I couldn't find a Windows Phone 7 in the Verizon store. I looked. It was not one on display anywhere. That's not good. That's not good.
I like how you pulled like both. You know, it is neither my current phone nor my
old
previous
phone. No, my really old phone with the BlackBerry either.
I have every platform except.
So
Windows Phone 7.
next we had up an MVP. I don't know if he broke an NDA on this. I don't know that this is really an NDA territory to break. As an MVP,
close.
yeah, it was kind of close, but I don't ever remember being told we couldn't talk about the summit. You know, it was not Fight Club. But Promet, and I'm going by his handle, posted that he was told there's no DirectX or XNA at the MVP summit this year. There are no DirectX or XNA tracks. So the MVPs are welcome to attend, but we don't have anything for you. We have no announcements. Now, if you've been in the XNA and everything is dead camp, that's really kind of
Disturbing.
yeah, that's really kind of concerning. I will go out on a limb, though. I will give you something to hang your hat on. I will give you crazy fanboy. It really means something awesome.
Okay.
And it means that they're going to ship the Xbox Next, the 720 or whatever you want to call it, very soon in 2012. And therefore they can't talk about it because it's all updated for the new Xbox, and we're just in the lockdown cycle of being able to talk for the new console.
Well,
So if you're willing to buy that there's a new console next year...
it probably runs WinRT. Congratulations.
That's why they can't talk about it. But
In all seriousness, there is a possibility that they just have so much, Windows 8 stuff that they're focusing the summit around that.
you know, Microsoft's a pretty damn big company, and
I understand
they have
that.
different departments and different divisions. And
Well, my point is that they aren't announcing anything major there.
I've been
because things are
at
changing other
MVP
places.
summits and sessions that they don't have new stuff to announce.
And they still have tracks.
And yes, and then you still have tracks. Like one of my complaints.
Okay, well,
one of my complaints
never mind
on
then.
one of the summits was, if I'm coming here for the MVP summit, we're all NDA'd up. I want to see crazy batshit insane new shit. I don't want to see what is PDC plus 3 weeks out. You know, I don't want to see just on the edge. I want to see stuff that's really far out. I got that with the ASP Insiders. I never got that with the MVPs, which is why I'm still an insider and I don't care about the MVP program. I wasn't finding any personal benefit out of it to me. And again, I was an ASP.NET MVP, so I'm not... When I say that, please don't take that to mean DirectX and MVP. I've never been one, so I'm not speaking for that group. How well run or poorly run it may be, I have no idea. I asked to join, and they said, "Who the fuck are you?" And I'm like, I got this ebook that I wrote that sold like 6 copies. I bought one. Dylan bought one.
There's I'm sure that whole world kind of runs backwards, where Windows Phone 7 is the biggest.
Well, and that's the other thing too. When I
app
said no, I don't have any interest in the Windows Phone 7. And at this point, it was because they didn't have any development devices pre-launch like that. Sorry, I'm like, look, man, if you can't get me a device in my hands, I ain't doing crap with it. Because the last thing I'm going to do is give a session on code I've only run in an emulator. Screw that. I do not trust an emulator well enough to stand up in front of people and tell them, here is how you write this code, because I need to see it on a device functioning before I feel confident enough giving it. So that was kind of my impression then. It had nothing to do with the launch or the success.
Now, incidentally, the article does mention, I believe, that there is an XNA 5.
It does. He does mention that there's some discussion of an XNA 5 that may or may not see the light of day.
And he didn't mention that he knows anything about it, just that there is.
There is, yeah. So that is at the end of the article. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to point that out. At the very end...
And my curiosity there is, what is the driver behind a new version? Is it
you've got to imagine there's a certain amount of inertia behind a project. And, after 4 shipped... They continued on. They continued working on things.
I completely agree, but we had 3.0, 3.1, and 4, so why...
5 may be the term for the collection of features since 4 that haven't shipped.
Okay.
5 may not be a major new...
They weren't actually readying a particular release.
Right, whereas 4 was all about the phone and some base level changes to the structure of the framework. 5 may just be some iterative stuff on top of it and may not have a ground-shaking new direction. Who knows? Maybe 5 has achievements and leaderboards and everything we've ever asked for.
That's less a technical thing and more of a policy.
Yeah, it is, because it actually exists for XNA. You just don't get access to it.
But depending on where they were going, it could tell you something. Like that could be the good news. Like, yeah, there actually was something big in here, so... It's not completely dead. It can keep Silverlight. It can keep Silverlight 5 company.
Yeah, so with the rumors going around that the Silverlight team is cut to 1/3 of its normal staffing, like they've lost 1/3 of the Silverlight team to leaving the company, and another 1/3 have moved into the Windows team and other departments, and it's almost like it's a skeleton crew left.
I don't know.
Like I said, rumor. But, it's not like Microsoft's going to come out and confirm, yep, people are jumping off Silverlight like rats off a sinking ship. It's a fucking Titanic in here. You are right, sir. Congratulations, Mary Jo Foley. You are accurate, you got us.
Wow.
Oh, gee. No, that's not going to come out and be confirmed. But that's not pleasant rumors to hear when 5 is, getting ready to drop, because it's almost like going to be a hollow victory of Silverlight 5. And I think Silverlight 5, and I've not gotten a good lock on this, and the documentation sucks, and I can't find anything out in the beta. I don't think in any of the betas or release candidates so far, the XNA 3D pieces and the XNA pieces in Silverlight work on the Mac. They only work on Windows.
Wow.
I don't know if that's just early version issues, and I know it was true in definitely 1 beta, but I don't know if that's going to be true at release or not, and I can find nothing that's talking about that. I don't see any chat if anybody would know if that's intended to stay that way, but I hope not, because that's the beauty of Silverlight, is that, it was pretty cross-platform. Windows and Mac, and if XNA kind of lives on in a plug-in, well, that's Unity. Which, by the way, Unity, I think I had a news article of Unity up, and I don't know, maybe I didn't grab it. Let's see, I should have ordered these better, but I didn't. Yeah, here we go. So Unity, amazed as installs tripled to 7,500. So the little Unity
installs of the player, or
the plugin,
of the...
yeah.
Okay.
It says the registered developers for the Unity. Oh, okay. So that's for the engine. I'm sorry. The number of Unity web players installed has also doubled over the last year to more than 80 million. So, I mean, for a game plugin, that's pretty damn good to say, you know, that's an option. And that tells me, you know, like something with Silverlight, even if it just lives on as a nice plugin to the web, for gaming, that could be damn awesome still.
It's still pretty standardized at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty standardized. And I'm going to be honest, I know there's a lot of talk in HTML5 as games and as a way of a future, but I think that at the moment that works for a very limited set of games and a very limited set of revenue options. You cannot obviously just sell access to the game and expect it to work because, I mean, right-click view source, man, done. It's out there. You know, you're still going to have that issue
now, if you're
with JavaScript and HTML5.
Yeah.
But you could work in some of these more service-based games, your Farmvilles and things like that are now Flash. You could work those because it's like, you know, if you get the code, who cares? We're authenticated, and it's really a service-based thing that you're playing.
Well, no, if you look at WinRT supporting HTML5 and JavaScript, and a lot of phone platforms supporting HTML5 and JavaScript, there is kind of a model there for that working, but it's not a web-based thing. It's, you know, find some way to package this up and sell as a program. Still, you know, if it's on the PC, you can probably get it at the source. But
yeah, so that's kind of good. Speaking of weird, crazy things, Tetris. Have you heard this?
No.
Tetris gets a subscription fee.
Wait. Explain.
On what?
Yeah. So
you mean the game that like 100 clones exist?
Oh,
correct.
They're on the internet.
Strong copyright.
But we're talking straight up old school Tetris, Tengen Tetris. You can now join, get the app for 99 cents on the iPhone, iPad Touch, and for $2.99 a month or $29.99 a year, you can join the T Club and get exclusive discounts and content, premium Tetris Log Challenge, and a booster to progress your Tetris log faster. So you can prestige in Tetris now.
Wow.
And pay for that ability.
Okay.
This is a problem, people.
I want to be in the meeting where that became a good idea.
There's
How
a
bad did
consultant
shit break down?
buzzwords.
How much more drunk than I am are you for that to sound like a good idea?
Drunk on power and money.
Let's make a revenue stream based Tetris game. The fact that you're even going to try to sell Tetris on the iPhone for 99 cents, like, it's probably free. There's probably free Tetris games on there.
How does that work on a touch interface? I guess that has like the gamepad on the touch interface. Surely you don't like drag.
You know, I don't know now. Actually, now that you make me wonder, I wonder if there is a Tetris. How would that be?
Touchpad or touch interface is not the first place I would go to play.
I guess
Tetris.
you could swipe left and right on one side to move the piece left and right, and then up and down to rotate. That might be a good control scheme.
I don't know.
As long as, well, like what I see on your screen looks like a T kind of piece. If one side was sensitive only to stuff,
I don't know that that's an actual shot
it's
of the
probably
iPhone.
not.
That
but
might be an icon.
as long as
I can't
those
see
were
from
the
here.
areas where you were the under the T branches of the T were where you were pressing and you're not covering up your screen, I'm fine with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like they can do the little virtual gamepad thing.
Well, they don't even need to do that. They just need to be
I
responsive.
mean, given the
in the right
perspective
direction.
of that screen, it almost looks like a DS
t-shirt.
or a Game Boy or something ripped that they grabbed on Giant Bomb, not an actual shot of the app. It could be a shot of the app. I didn't run and grab that, but yeah, that's kind of off the rails. Little gone there.
I don't know. The first thing I think though when I hear them talking about, you know, subscription based and, you know, the not prestiging. What was the actual word they used for like leveling up or whatever?
ranking, maybe.
Well, no, you said something to the effect of like you could get new
Tetris log
okay
status. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. There's some like That sounds like what a consultant would have told someone in 1999 about, like, yeah, you need to set up a website. We'll
We'll go there.
E-commerce your SEOs and that sort of thing.
It's
bubble talk, man.
The next one we have here, not stepping down as lead developer of Minecraft. Now,
What?
the story to me isn't the news here. The fact that this made front page on almost every site that is technical related in the slightest is news. That you could be an indie developer so huge that when you move to a new project, that is front page stop the presses news.
This reminds me of the Adult Swim show Metalocalypse, where, like, there's a significant chunk of the world's population that revolves around this one band.
Yes, and there's like a secret society discussing, like, how can we interfere or control or contain.
Yes. By manipulating them, you control the world. Yeah, that is, I don't know. Like,
and again,
natural.
he didn't send out like a press release.
Will there be
He
riots?
blogged like, "Hey guys, this guy's gonna take over. I'm gonna take a week off, and I'm gonna be working on my new project, which is probably Scrolls." He didn't elaborate on that, but with the Bethesda lawsuit, it's probably Scrolls that he's gonna jump in on.
There's only so much he can focus on, and this is the reason he started staffing up and talking about hiring people after.
Yes,
it's not like
yeah,
just him forever.
So that's something to attain for. I think that's a goal. I think that should be a goal, that you get so powerful when you change projects. There's not that many developers.
No.
If Miyamoto said, "I'm stepping away from the Zelda project," that'd be fucking news. That'd be all over the process. Like
Yeah.
everybody would be.
Well,
"Oh,
he's been, so many years.
right."
as
That's
opposed
what I'm comparing it to. Like that's it. It's like
Or when the Metal Gear guy stepped down.
that
or
wasn't even
went
as
away.
big.
Well, it wasn't as big, but it was big.
Because, like, Metal Gear, they had wrapped it up at least. They at least wrapped up the Solid Snake story, or whatever, the Metal Gear Solid. But, yeah, that didn't seem to be as giant an impact, Team Ninja Dude leaving was not...
There's something, like, hipster about this. Like, he's become this god, over the course of, years. Not that it's not deserved. Like,
it is
my
deserved.
project
One of
is
us
really
who
awesome,
made
but
it.
it's almost like they've,
And, it
He
does...
transcended
It does
hipsterism.
irritate me when the clones
Yeah.
try to say that he cloned Infiniminer.
He's
And it's like Infiniminer was a totally fucking different game where people fucked around in the level builder more than playing the game. Now, granted, ideas came from that, right? Where he realized, like, hey, more people are having fun with the level builder than actually playing the damn game. And, that's where SimCity came from, too, because
Will Wright.
Will Wright, I was going to say Sid Meier. Will Wright did Raid on Bungling Bay, had more fun building the map editor for Raid on Bungling Bay and playing in it than actually playing Raid on Bungling. And I played Raid on Bungling Bay, and I can totally see that. Like, that game was pretty bad. And then from that, he went and did SimCity, but they were kind of like, oh, no one's ever going to play this. What the hell's wrong with you? Get out of here. And they're like, well, I'll go make my own company and make millions and laugh at you later. I don't know if he said all that, but that's what happened.
He said it
True
in
story.
his
You can look it up. Wikipedia.
Citation needed.
But
Donate now.
what he did with Infiniminer, is seeing like, hey, there's this thing going on here that I enjoy doing, but I'm going to take it out of... It's a little piece of a larger thing, but actually the larger thing's not as interesting as the little piece. And I'm going to pull it out, and then it's going to become this other thing, and it evolve over time to my own thing, and do it in all of this stuff his own way. And that's totally different than sitting down and saying, like, okay, I'm going to, obviously, let me see, we need dirt blocks, we need some stone blocks, we need some coal, we need torches, carts, I'll make a spring block, and that way I'm unique.
I'll put in zombies, and I'm unique.
Actually,
No,
I was going to say...
that's not unique. He's got fucking zombies.
A lot of the clones on Xbox Live Indie games, the only thing they add is, like, they take the evolution in a slightly different direction.
No, the only thing they add is they're on Xbox.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of them, like, graphically, or they do something, but it's very, very slight. The only thing that even comes close, I think, is that Castle Miner Z, where it's a zombie survival game. And even then, it's basically a straight clone. With
Yeah, it's basically
lighting,
a re-release of an existing game.
But that's more in the direction of what he did than just
But
a
it's
straight
pretty
clone.
freaking weak. And, I mean, it's fine that they can clone the games and they can do that. I'm not against the ability to clone that.
Yeah.
But don't expect me to respect that.
I'm fine with cloning games that haven't come to a system yet, so that I can have the game on that system. But when that game comes to the system, bye-bye, sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm sure
Minecraft,
that'll-
I think, has been pushed back a little bit. I don't know if it's coming out this holiday season now on XBLA, but I don't know how far it was delayed. I know it was delayed a little bit, but it was pushed back, and I don't know when it comes out. And I don't know what that's going to do in terms of the clones, because when Minecraft showed up on the mobile devices, it's just the create mode. Like, it's back to square one, and they're iterating on it. And if I don't know what's going to be on the Xbox. I don't know how far along the process it's going to be. I don't really see it having a good long-term shelf life on the Xbox, because you really can't have the servers and stuff that people come together.
And people don't make like packs for it so that you can skin everything and make it look like Zelda or whatever.
Yeah, so it's not going to be... It doesn't have that PC modding community behind
and
it.
if you can't connect to the regular servers, then I mean you're basically splitting the community. I imagine it will kind of be like a snapshot of what Minecraft was at one point in its development process, and that's where it's going to stay.
If you like Minecraft on Xbox, you might like it on the PC. Buy it.
So let's see what else I got over here in the news file of things that I just randomly grabbed right before the show. Oh, this was interesting. So, Mark Jessup on Gamasutra posted RevShare, and basically breaking down some of his experience and saying, hey everyone, let's all come together, work on this game, and we'll all split the revenue. So nobody's paid up front for the game dev, we're going to do RevShare. And we see this so often on the Xbox Live Indie Game forums, the dev forums in the App Hub, where people are looking for people to work on their game, and they just want to split revenue. You know, it's like, hey, we'll pay you when we make awesome millions.
I got an awesome idea. Make my game.
And there, he lists out 4 reasons why somebody would actually agree to this. And one is, like, they're your friend, and they just want to be nice and help you out. 2 is they have some personal goal. Like, they want to make a shader, they want to get some music in a game, they want to, do something like that. And so they're doing it for an exposure or resume building or experience building type endeavor.
I'm waiting for the crazy one. There's got to be a crazy one.
The third is like, oh, dude, they just really need the experience. Just give them a chance. They'll be totally awesome, Basically, 100% noob, and, like, they're not going to be able to contribute anything.
They're overselling what they can do.
Yeah, or they're just begging for a chance to make a game. And then 4, they believe it'll be a huge financial success. They believe in the idea of the game and the 4 days. Now, the thing he points out in the article, and kind of the point of the article, is only option 4. Only number 4 there. Are they actually in line with the purpose of the game? Like, we think this is going to be a good game. We're gonna make it. Everything else is kind of a selfish reason for being involved in the project and not really working towards, like, the game as a whole. And his potluck metaphor is basically like, hey, you have these potluck dinners. Everybody makes a dish and brings a dish, and then you have this big meal of all these, more food than you could ever make yourself, and a whole lot better of a meal than it would take time and everything like that. So you save a lot of time and hang out and be social. But at a potluck, a lot of times, it's difficult to coordinate to make sure you don't have, like, 3 pots of corn broth or
4 dishes of dessert and 3 bags of potato chips.
Yeah, right. Show up, like, that there's all bases covered. And the same issue holds true on RevShare, in that what you have is everybody kind of working in their own little isolated areas for their own little isolated purposes. They're not being paid, so they don't feel the need to adhere to a schedule or make other people's time. Just send them an email. I'll do it when I get a chance. And so you end up getting a game that is a collection of pieces. And this, I think, if you want to do a rev share, I think my approach to that would be attempt to pay people up front and say, hey, we want to do a rev share. I'll give you 15% of what we take in, on this game. That'll be the rev share for, say, the graphics artist. And I will give you $500 up front now. So what you basically do is they have a negative 500 starting balance. So when the revenue comes in, you take the 15% they get and you add it to negative 500. And not till it hits positive do you start paying them out. But you've paid them up front, so they got paid for the work, and they feel like, more involved in it, and, they need to, hey, we did get money for that, and, we need to do what we did on time. If you can't just out and outright do the rev share. And he says in the article, he says, actually most graphic artists will, most developers, most people working on things, they'll gladly take $200 now over any rev share, over the chance for 2,000 or 20,000 later. Like, just the cut and run and not have to worry about it.
Well, it also forces, it forces you to make decisions. Like, you're going to be serious about this. I keep mentally in my head picturing this as, someone on a forum going, hey, I need, someone who does textures and programming and all this stuff. I keep thinking about back to doing, like, game editing. Like, I did some editing for, was involved in the editing community for Dark Forces 2. And you would go into a message board and you would see that, like, got this great idea for a total conversion, and,
Yeah, that's the App Hub forums are like. I mean...
Yeah, like, it would just totally implode because no one realized the scope of what they were looking at.
And yeah,
it was kind of a pipe dream.
Chenard posted in that RevShare can work. It's how Chris and him handled the Hypership port. That explains why he was plugging Hypership. But I don't recommend it with complete newbies. And yeah, I think that kind of ties into the number one there of, like, they're your friends. You know them, and they're willing to, jump in and do all that. Like, I mean, I know some developers pretty well now, too, and I think I could approach them, which is kind of, with the Captain Dubstep week, that's kind of phase 2. If I get much of the mechanics where I want them, I can handle a lot of the back-end coding. You can definitely jump in and handle a lot of the back-end coding that we need to do. But I would like to add music, art, voice acting, these other things, and that's where I would like to say, look what I've got done. Now, are you interested in coming on board? And even at the friend level of, like, hey, I've got us this far. This thing is happening, and I already have people in mind for all of these, but contacting these people and then saying that. And actually what I think I'd love to do, and I don't know if I'm revealing too much or if it even matters, nobody's going to care if I don't end up following up on it this way, is if I get it to that point, approaching these people, and this will be an interesting process if it works. As a developer, get it up and functioning so you can see it's a playable game, and you can even pass around an executable, just limit an audience they can check it out too. And then say, like, hey, this is the whole idea, but what I need is a graphic artist. Alright? So what I want to do is I want to rev share with you, but I want to pay you up front, and make sure we can do this right. And that you can dedicate time to this and really, really do this right. So, if you can, on spec, make this one demo level I got going pretty. Give me some art assets I can drop into it, make it look pretty. Musician, if you can give me a one track that I can play in here and get the sound effects nice. Voice actress, if you can give me a couple lines of dialogue for a trailer. And I can take all these assets and build a nice, presentable trailer. I can kickstart this now.
Yeah,
and say, like, hey, now I've got a polished-looking thing. We need to flesh this out. I need money to pay the voice actors you hear, the artist that you see, the musician that you're listening to. And, they've given a sample of their work here of what this could be. Here's the idea. If you're into it, I think that could be a successful Kickstarter formula for an indie game. Because at that point, you've convinced people, like, it's going to exist.
Yeah, you've kind of sidestep the possibility that it could be a pipe dream, because even a competent graphic artist, designer, developer, whatever, can come up with something that's, like too far out of his scope, biting off more than he can chew, and you have no reason to trust him unless,
You've seen it before. Now, I think if you're out and you have a reputation, I think if and he's not needing to do this at the moment, but if Robert Boyd needed to kickstart a game, he could without having to, because he can point at the other games he's done, which serves the same function of the demo that I'm talking about. So,
and the demo is both proof to Kickstarter, and it's also proof to the people you want to get involved in the project.
I got other notes I got up here. The Xbox 360 records the biggest week in Xbox history. So they sold more than 960,000 consoles in the U.S. alone, of which more than 800 were sold within a 24-hour period, basically the Black Friday. Biggest week of sale in Xbox history.
Considering it's a 2-generation deal.
They say biggest week of sales, so I don't know how that stacks out for a month and a quarter. Maybe they need to wait so they can report the whole quarter yet, and it's not come in, and that's why it's not out. And not that it's not actually a record-setting quarter or something. I don't know. But that's a damn ton of 360s out there. So even if XNA and DirectX is being abandoned, and the plan is WinRT, and indie devs are no longer invited to that party anymore, and, because we're going to go on the console, and there's not going to be an XNA indie games, because we're not going to have 2 APIs ready for you so that there's a non-achievement leaderboard, and there's no way in hell we're giving you achievements and leaderboards.
We're not even giving you awardments.
So all that goes away. Even if all that is true, even if all that is happening, we have at least 3 years of good life still in the 360. Even... like we've got 2 years after the new console hits the market, because there are just so many damn consoles out there, and they're going to continue to sell.
Yeah, and they almost run the risk. I think I've said this before on the podcast. They almost, because they did so well this generation, they almost run the risk of doing what PS2 and PS3 did.
The curse of the PS2 is that,
you are too big to fall.
The PS2 had so much inertia behind it that the new price tag of the PS3, just people are just continue buying the PS2s, and game companies are still publishing to wide install bases on the PS2, so there's new games coming out for it, and no one has an incentive to move forward.
Well, no matter what the price tag on it is, you're still going to have that, that period. Not everyone's going to buy the new system right when it comes out. It's going to happen over the course of a couple of years, but if that original install base is large enough, it's still a lucrative target.
So, I don't think I really have any other news worth talking about. It's probably time for our new releases of the week. I think we're gonna get into some new releases of the week, and I honestly thought that this game was going to be banned before we got a chance to cover it.
It's technically not breaking any...
Technically. But Band-Aid Moe Makuri disappeared.
We don't know why, though.
We don't know why. Mostly because we can't speak Japanese and he won't tell us.
I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be banned. I'm just saying...
Yeah. So we shot video of this game last week, because I thought it was going to be banned, gone from the console by this week, because all we saw was this box art cover. And the box art cover, for those on the podcast, it looks like a woman in bondage with hands tied behind her. Then you realize that's just her shirt, but it does look like some hentai porn, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it's going for.
And I think when we played it, it was just basically an adventure game. And the funny thing was...
Yeah, but the first couple of frames had you flying your penis ship into a vagina.
Oh, I was trying to forget about that.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
We're not off on that either, because even Indie Gamer Chick in her review calls it the Space Snatch. So,
Wow.
we're not the only ones.
We're like the classy ones.
Yeah.
Like, we're actually using correct anatomical language.
I'm sorry. My dad is a doctor.
Well, it's Quest to Find the Clitoris is the game. And the thing is that when you get into the game, you really don't. It fails to deliver any of these crazy, sexy
Just go to the gallery.
You will not make me
screenshots.
my good liquor.
The gallery screenshots are crazy done, high art quality.
Art.
They don't even match the quality of the artwork in the rest of the game. Like, it's almost done by two complete people, to the point where I think somebody went to DeviantArt and found Creative Commons stuff and stuffed it in there for a few scenes, and then hand drew the rest.
That...
It feels right. Or they went on to, like, some sort of DeviantArt site and said, draw me a few pictures that I can put as stills.
That makes more sense.
Now, the developers also got on Twitter, because somebody's complaining that this is a 240-point game, and there is not the content for a 240-point game, and I agree. There's not the content
There are enough titties
for a 240-point game. And they were complaining that the size of the game pushed them over the limit, that the artwork was such a high resolution. And I think
they're doing it wrong.
They're doing it wrong. They fucked that up. Even at 1080 screens, which they totally could have done 720 screens and it would have been just fine, they did something wrong to inflate that. Could have been as stupid as a mistake as we did, as double building the music, where we didn't exclude the music and Inca blocks from the build and used exact and ended up getting 2 copies of the music in our distributable. But it takes a lot, even for artwork, to cross that compressed 50 meg limit. So, even though they're across that limit, it's got to be so resource wasteful. I mean, and especially when so many of the images could be tiled backgrounds and compressed and saved, they didn't look to optimize any of it. They probably have alpha channels turned on for all of these, and not using it. They could have...
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't be using it for anything based on the quality of the actual
our next game up... I got no clue what the name of that game was.
Star Defender or something like that?
Yeah, the box art...
Something Defender. Shape Defender? Star
jump
Defender?
Back. Star Defender. You guys didn't see that on the live podcast. Star Defender is...
You had a warp zone that could...
it's a forced scroller... Was this that one? The one where you had to...
No, you were on a single screen for this one.
Oh yeah, you were on a single screen for this one.
It had no feedback in the Rumble pack. It had no feedback on the from an audio level.
This was a dual stick shooter. This was pretty much a dual stick shooter with some simple graphics, I think.
Yeah,
and a nice soundtrack. My baby liked to dance to it.
I think I played this last week because I thought it was going to be part of last week. So
it's striking lack of memory that I have on playing this game that I played it last night.
Wow.
Just tells you.
At least I have an excuse.
On this one. Next up, we did video on is Uzi Earth Adventure Episode 2, and you seem to think it was kind of similar. I think it felt like the controls tightened up a lot from the first to the second.
I don't remember too much about but I don't remember anything that I picked up the game and thought, wow, they've changed it, which is fine. It's a really polished platformer. I think we'd both said that there wasn't really anything that stood out to us.
Yeah, I think on the video when we shot this, I likened it to like a soup. Like if it was a soup, you'd say like it just needs salt or something. You just need something. It looks amazing. The controls are tight. It's a good, well-made platformer. And it almost like there's an uncanny valley that it slipped into. It's so good now that I notice it doesn't have the Mario-esque charm, of like the story and the thing that Mario brings to it, or it's not a Sonic, or it's like now I'm not comparing you anymore to indie game platformers. Now I'm going to compare you to all the AAA platformers because you look so damn good and you're so well polished and it's so well effort. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think if you definitely have younger kids, this is an excellent platformer for younger kids.
Now, to be fair, we did play this on normal, and there are higher difficulty settings.
And challenge mode.
Yeah, like if we'd played one of those, maybe we would have gotten something. But I think at normal difficulty, yeah, it's good for just
The confirmation in the chat, too, that the later levels get better.
Okay.
Which is typical of a platformer as well. And it seems like
may just have a slow difficulty.
That there's a lot of effort in catching you up. So he basically, like, the developer wants to start off with all the abilities and things that you've managed and mastered in the first game. Start off with all of that, but now I have to assume somebody might not have played the first game or needs a refresher, so that first level kind of needs to be that. Our next one up, this is the 4-scroller I was thinking of, Ultimate Polygon. And the twist on this 4-scrolling jumper is that you can run above or below the line. So you toggle yourself above or below. So instead of jumping over a box, you could just merely flip yourself under the box and run underneath it. And then, but then you do have to jump. And you can jump from either side, so you could be underneath it and jump down, or on top and jump up, and you gravitate back towards the center line. It was an interesting idea, and, I like the novelty of the idea, but as far as a gameplay, it wasn't making me want to play.
Nah, I'm not a big fan of 4-scrollers anyway. The graphics are kind of basic, so...
Yeah,
I guess that's normal for some 4-scrollers.
No Jump Hero.
Didn't
no
like
Jump
it.
Hero.
Stupid male symbols should not be kill yous.
Yeah, so that was the other thing too. As you go on, other symbols start popping up, and they're different colors, and it's not clear whether they were power-ups, like am I supposed to jump and get those, or jump and avoid those?
Look at the help screen.
Didn't look at the help screen. The help
Okay,
screen was kind of buried.
Next one up is Rise of the Mummies, and this is such a clone of I Made a Zombies, game of zombies in it. And I don't mean like it's a dual-stick shooter thing. I mean it's a straight-up I Made a Zombie game in it.
Without
the zombies move almost in
music.
the same way. The backgrounds change. Weapons you pick up. You can switch between weapons, so I mean they've added that.
I like how you could switch between the weapons, but other than that, I made a game with zombies in it.
And it doesn't have the music of I Made a Game of Zombies in it, so it doesn't have the meme-tastic charm.
Yeah, and I want to say that there was a game a couple of weeks ago that played almost exactly like this. So
there was a similar one, but I think we played that multiplayer.
Week.
Isn't that the one where we had like wizards and...
No, this was a different...
No.
We may want to... I don't know if you can bring up the game on Xbox Indies.
Too crazy far back into the web.
Well, you could see...
Look at my tabs from hell, man. Like, I can't...
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Jump in. No, I can do a dev check real quick. I can't do that to see if he's only got one game.
Okay. Then I am completely off base there.
Was that your phone or mine?
I think it was mine.
Okay.
I have no idea. It will sometimes make noise.
Next one up, Zombies Everywhere. And
Zombies in my hair.
This was a gallery shooter.
Yes. Set in the Smurf Village.
Set in the Smurf Village with little zombies coming at you that you just aim at and shoot and don't let them get near you. You could not, no option, to invert the Y control. I was done with this game in 15 seconds. If you're going to make a straight shooter... You need to, if you don't put the option of...
There should be an option.
Configuration option in the game, you can read my gamer profile, because that's one of the few gamer profile settings you can have of preference of inversion Y. I
want to say the trial cut me off pretty early in this. I may be thinking of another game, but there's not a lot of gameplay. It is basically straight up gallery shooter.
Even when it lets you go to the next round, it's still a fucking Smurf village.
See, yeah, I mean...
I didn't play long enough to see the next round.
The graphics were pretty good. It's just not a full,
UK, countries, and regions. It's a map program. A day at Grandma's house in winter. It's to just draw on the screen some objects.
Awfully specific. There are a couple other games, but they're not available.
The heck was the name of that? Turbo Rocket 2. So this was kind of interesting. Dual stick shooter, but you kind of had like a arena to move around in and just find and eliminate all the ships. So again, this is one of these nice, you're taking the genre somewhere, you're exploring something. Didn't work out too well for me. It was overall kind of dull. I mean, I could just take all the enemy ships and line them up on an edge, and then just pick them off one by one as they overflowed and came off that edge. So, like, I didn't ever have like a horde to deal with.
You got into one of the tunnels on the edge of the arena?
Yeah, basically ran out in the middle, got them all to follow me, and then ran back around the corner, and then they all kind of stacked up. Because their logic wasn't to pathfind. Their logic was to head straight for you. So I could exploit that and then pick them off without trouble.
I didn't really figure that out, and it seems like if you don't do that, it's just insanely hard. Like, you can't actually go into the arena and
it would be a lot of bullets. Yeah, it would definitely be a lot of bullets, I guess, if you were out in front of all of them.
One interesting thing I think they did is based on... I obviously chose, the non-asteroids configuration, but it looks like you can choose between a dual-stick shooter and an asteroid-style configuration.
Yes! I don't know why you would want the asteroid-style configuration, especially with the boundary limits and the touchy controls. I don't know what that offers someone, but yeah, you could do either control scheme, which it's interesting.
It's kind of cool because I imagine somewhere out there's someone who prefers asteroids, maybe, a
former
older
champion
than us,
on an arcade system.
But
Steve Webby. Is that his name? Was it Steve Webby?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Steve W. something, wasn't it? He's the King of Kong.
Oh. I don't know.
Levy. Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Nano Squad. So this was a scrolling shooter that felt like you should be able to turn and point in any direction, but you couldn't. So,
it was kind of a bullet hell shooter.
Yeah.
And although it seems to be multiplayer. Or maybe...
Yeah, it looked like you could do a multiplayer, but there's so many bullets, it focuses in on that bullet hell, trying to avoid. They're next to impossible, but you get like a ton of ships.
Yeah,
or you have infinite ships or something.
There's a leveling system. There is some sort of... I don't want to say... they're called nano points, but they're basically like MP. You can use special abilities. Each of the different pilots has different statistics and different abilities. And there's some way you can join the ships together and then split them apart. I didn't quite get it. I think...
It needs multiple players to figure out what the hell is going on.
I think I'd have been less confused, especially since the first pilot I picked was balanced in terms of statistics, which means he was useless.
All right, so now
anyway.
I'm going to, in our mid-break here, give you guys a chance to be seen on the video, and I will be blocked out. Our next one up is Elf Squad.
Fuck it.
It was cute. It was cute. I think my girls kind of liked it. Younger age. So you had presents falling down from the screen. No, you had toys falling down from the screen.
You had to make them into presents.
Up, and they became presents. And then you had to catch them before they fell off the screen. And occasionally you would have like some giant stuffed animals or something to come down that you would keep shooting them.
With those?
If you keep shooting them, you'll get bonus.
A bunch of time you get a bunch of presents that you have to catch all at once.
Yeah. And then sometimes there'd be coins drops that you just picked up. There might be little guys running around at the bottom too you would have to avoid. There would be clocks that would pop up to go collect to keep your timer going to meet the goal that you need to do to collect presents. So I don't know, it was cute. It was interesting and cute.
I actually had some fun with this. I mean,
it's not fun, but I still say fuck it.
That's the booze talking.
Shut it.
Next one up we did video of is Vol Chaos. Fun infused game this week out. And this one is what did I say on the video? The Floor is Hot Lava, the game.
The Floor is Hot Lava, the game, yes. Yes.
Michael Bay should have approved this.
So what you do is you run across the level while lava is rising from the bottom. It's not a climber, though. You are scrolling horizontally, so it's not a jump to the top and don't get caught by the rising
to almost be getting into like puzzle territory.
I don't know
well,
that.
I mean, I'm using that.
It's a
very
timing
action.
puzzle.
You have to know where.
It's a timing puzzle.
It's action platformer. I wouldn't call that a puzzle.
Okay, I can see that.
You know, so like, yeah, if you get your speed run right, you can collect all the gems and hit the exit and not get hit by the lava. You do have to kind of go in a certain order, but I don't know that the order of collecting those gems is necessarily set in stone. You just need to be quick about it.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to collect all the gems to go on.
Turn out there is some climbing levels, so it does look like later on, because we hit the trial limit in our trial video of all the levels. So my thing when I was playing it, though, I didn't really feel like I needed to collect the gems. You're not required to. No. You're not even required to get a minimum number.
I mean, that's like 3-starring an Angry Birds level, though.
And I just got to a point where, though, I just zipped through the levels. So for me, I don't know that I would come back and pick it up because I wasn't getting sucked into like I got to collect all the diamonds.
I think the purpose behind something like that is that someone like you could just go through, enjoy all the levels, whatever, and then someone could actually get stuck on it. I actually I liked it, although the jumping mechanic was a little weird.
You found it. You found that holding A was.
Yeah, you had to hold down A to do higher and longer jumps.
I mean, that seems natural, though. That seems like almost every platformer that allows a controlled jump.
It does, but it seemed like I had to hold it down a lot longer than what my natural reflexes were. And again, this is me, so it could just be what I'm used to. Which I don't know if like there are controlled jumps that come in the later levels, which was the implication to me. It kind of felt like they could have almost done a double jump. I don't know. It was a little bit awkward for me, but overall I liked it. Yeah,
I didn't have any issues with that whole jump. That seemed kind of natural. And actually, some of the bits that I've already done on Captain Dubstep use that same precision jumping.
I think it's not so much the mechanic as the timing. You kind of have to get the speed and the timing down, and it's just what you're used to.
Next one up is something from Japan.
It's not the name of the game.
Naru, we figured out, is her name.
That was
that's what we're going with, we're guessing.
Nusa or something was in
correct.
The name. I don't know, like Google Translate and Bing Translate didn't give us good.
No, it didn't really help out much here. Neither has the developer. But this is developer help us out with the translation in their description text. Not like we emailed them and he's like, no, screw you.
Part of the title is in katakana, and then there's a big kanji word. All I know is there's female in it somewhere, and that's it.
Wait, so the last word was like a different kanji?
It's just, there's katakana, which is translation from another language. Doesn't matter which. And there's hiragana, which is theirs. The first 3 characters are katakana. I could see those.
That's why Google Translate chose.
One of these days we're going to have somebody on the podcast that speaks Japanese and is fluent. And is going to correct her. And is going to correct her on all this shit that she's completely wrong on. But nobody knows because we have no clue. It's just like, okay, whatever.
This is what my teacher told me. Katakana is what everybody else is speaking. We just put it into Japanese sounding. Hiragana is
the game, that we were going to talk about, and not the language and her failed attempts to figure out what the word meant.
And the kanji which is translated
Narasu is
borrowed from Chinese.
You play the girl. She's got like little were they flowers? What was dangling? Like little chains are dangling down from her. I don't know
if it was sakura or if it was just the edges of her sleeve.
But those lock onto the enemies. You can hold them down, lock onto the enemy, and then kind of spin the enemy around and throw them into other enemies. And it seems like the more times you hit, or the stronger you hit, or something, the more points that you get when you do it. It's kind of an interesting it's not like something that I can immediately say like this is a this type game.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons that we did video on it, because I mean it is kind of unique.
It's vaguely kind of physics based. I think we've run into this with other games before, that when part of your mechanic is to try to whip something around, it's kind of awkward to do that with a thumbstick, and I mean you see that in the video. It's a really neat idea, and they do have the physics down pretty well.
So
it's just confusing as hell.
Yeah.
Why did the peppers want to kill you? What did the edamame ever do to you?
It peed on him.
That is right.
The peas peed on him.
Oh, come on. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. There we go. I think I could get that shrunken down.
What are you doing?
And editing my shots live to see if I can... There! Now you can see all of us. Yay. Orcs is our next game up. And so this is a rock, paper, scissors...
Defense game.
So what you have is you have 3 lanes coming at you. And you'll have a rogue, wizard, and a soldier.
Yeah.
And there basically is a rock, paper, scissors of the rogue beats the wizard beats the soldier beats the rogue type mechanic. But what you gotta do is kind of wait on a timer before you can send out a troop. And the longer you wait, the stronger they are. And as you go on to multiple levels, you can wait longer and kind of like do double taps when you and even triple taps later to launch a stronger character. And so when the computer sends down, say, a wizard down the road, then you can send a rogue down that road, and that'll take out that wizard. But then the computer might send now a soldier down that same row, and it's going to take out your rogue. So then you're going to counter with a wizard. And what you're trying to do is it's almost like this rock, paper, scissors tug of war. You've got 3 lanes to play, so you may choose just to let some go by in a lane, or instead of challenging this lane, send one down a clear lane. And after a certain amount of times that you've won versus lost battles on a lane, then the whole thing shifts in like a tug of war, like you march forward to the enemy. Every time you lose too much, then you go back a little ways. So it's pretty complex and involved for a simple mechanic game. In practice, it seemed the timer mechanic kept dragging my eye away from where I need to be focusing on, and so I wouldn't look at it. I would just be mashing the buttons and not looking at the timer when I was ready, and it gave me this overall late and the controls are slow kind of feel. If there would have been some better way of letting me know when I can release another character, I think that would have gone a long ways to improving the feel of the responsiveness. I think the controls were perfectly responsive, but because of the way the timer was done, it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
As a strategy game, it's unique.
It was neat. I mean, it was too much like tower defense for my taste, so I kind of got tired of it.
All right. Our next one up is Orbitron Revolution, and this is a game we were talking about in the Sunburn ad at the start, at the top of the show. And so this is using Sunburn, and it looks gorgeous. If you're watching the live video, it looks as gorgeous as the box art implies. I mean, that's a screenshot in game, that it plays from. And what shocked me, because I had watched a lot of video on this coming up when we talked about this game coming up and releasing, I thought this was some kind of like space racer or scrolling shooter or something. And it turns out this thing is Defender. This is a scrolling shooter of an earlier generation.
Right.
It's a step back down the family tree, down to not only can you flip both ways, not only do you have a long laser shot that covers the whole screen when you shoot, and not only do you shoot the ships and then pick something up from them, they don't really drop it. You have to rescue it and land them, but you do have to kind of collect these things for points when you shoot the ships. It even has the mini-map. The Defender mini-map is at the bottom. So I thought this game played pretty well. I don't know if it's going to appeal to everyone. I think there's a bit of Defender nostalgia in my enjoyment of the game that I'm willing to admit that there's some bias there of, played a lot of Defender on the Atari 2600.
Well, I've said this about other Defender clones. When I pick them up and I don't think I ever really played Defender, so I didn't really realize what it was. It's very disorienting to have your whole screen shift. But I mean, once you get used to it, it's it's a really nicely polished game.
And it looks like it has modes to unlock
yes.
in the full version, alternate ships to unlock in the full version that you could play. So it does look like there's a lot more to it than the basic Defender run around and shoot. You said in the video it does kind of give some continuity of why the screen wraps. Because you're on an orbital station, you're just going around in circles of the station. So that's why the level wraps from one into the other. And do a good job of segmenting out, color coding and putting letters on the starship, on the satellite, to know where you're at and know where you're oriented. So it looked pretty good. We did video of that one, so look for video next week on that game. Next we have up is Ninja Recapture, and this is I don't know if it's a trilogy now. There's been 3 of these.
I don't think they're necessarily.
It's definitely a sequel because it tied in the first girl, and the little ninja, the guy at the front talked about her, and tied into some of these ninja games. But it's definitely evolving. The gameplay is evolving. So it looks like the developers work on the same engine, but each time he does a new version, there's a lot more than just some new skins and new levels.
And also, I think it's a different type of game than before. So it's,
Ninja Sneaking was scrolling, and you didn't have weapons as to work, but you were still doing that same kind of scrolling and platforming. And now it looks like it's kind of building on there and behaving more like an adventure scroller. To where, Paper Mario style or whatever, you go into a house here, you turn down a road path here, there's an alternate fork in the road, you can go one of 2 ways here, you can backtrack, there is an overworld map. Now, you don't walk around the overworld map.
You just take branching paths.
But you take branching paths from the levels. Almost, I think that more apt, we mentioned on the show, Zelda 2, but really closer to Castlevania 2.
Yeah. Either of those, except more arcadey, more more simplified. Not
Yeah, that's why I mean Castlevania 2. I mean, because Castlevania 2 was that way. You had more items to collect, but this has items, and this has leveling up and purchasing stuff and things like that. So, yeah, that's where I would go. I would say this is more of a Castlevania 2 type game. I don't know where Castlevania went, by the way, after that. I didn't really play Castlevania 3 or on, so I don't know if that's
I've read the Wikipedia, and I'm not certain that I know what's going on.
But I don't mean if I know, because there's a lot of time where they call it Metroidvanias, and I'm like, what the hell did Castlevania ever have to do with Metroid? Those weren't even the same. To me, what they call Metroidvania games are Metroid games. Yeah. But I guess at some point, Castlevania went further down the Castlevania 2 tact.
Well, I think Castlevania 2, it's a self-contained world, kind of like Metroid, where you have to backtrack and go around this. It's not segmented into stages. Castlevania 2 and Castlevania 3 were the only games I ever played out of the series, and Castlevania 3 was just a basic side scroller with stages.
3 was a throwback to 1.
Yeah.
Because for the little I played on it, it was a throwback to 1, and I didn't have an interest. After playing 2, that's what I wanted. I didn't want a throwback to 1. I wanted to keep going that direction. So I don't know if it did.
3 wasn't bad, but it wasn't 2.
Smiler2 never played Metroid or Castlevania. Well, you have some homework ahead of you, sir.
Yes. How old are you?
Escape from Robot Doom. So this game is a 3D game. We got this little robot, and you're kind of Pac-Manning these battery objects on the screen.
That serve as both your ammo and your life.
And you can overcharge too. You can get too many of them. You walk up to little things that push buttons and open doors, but I don't know what's wrong with the controls in this game. Like, maybe they're going for a control scheme I've never come across, but it feels just straight up broken.
It feels like, especially when you're backing up, it almost feels like the kind of control scheme you'd use for a vehicle.
You remember the remote control cars, the cheap ones, that could go forward or back, but when you went back, they also turned?
Yes.
You didn't have a choice over that. That's what this felt like. Like, when you back up, you have to back up and turn. You can't just go forward or backwards. You're limited to going forwards or backing up and turning at the same time. And aiming was a pain in the ass. Like, to try to shoot the other little robots, I barely got anywhere in the first level.
You could fire with both arms, with your right and left trigger. There were no controls, as I remember. There's no, like, how to play.
No, I don't think I found
I don't remember a help screen.
If there was, it was so basic it was as to not be helpful.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there wasn't a good like sighting or reticle to know where you were aiming, and how things were going to shoot and hit. And
yeah, I mean, graphically, it just based on like the credits screen, I figure this is kind of one guy's first attempt, or maybe not first attempt, but you know, it was one guy doing this, and it's not bad graphically. It's just, you know, like gameplay wise, it's a little.
Yeah. Following up, Decon6 in the chat is Castlevania on the DS count and first half of Metroid Prime, and now he says he feels too young for this place. I think that's just me. Okay, I think it's just me on this podcast. Maybe a couple others in chat. But I mean, I go back to game references that you and Cicely don't tie in, or that's not the iconic.
We had different interests at the time, but I played a lot of the same games as you.
Well, like Nintendo was like the first system I had. Mom and Dad had the Atari. Any of the other consoles that were going on during the, you know, like the time that the Atari was big, I have no clue about.
My cousin had the Atari.
Grandparents had a ColecoVision. All right, Dragons versus Spaceships. Really bad scrolling shooter.
Yeah.
The dragon moves slow and lethargic, and he shoots way too slow for the space that the spaceships are coming down.
I don't
like
count
the
him as a
spaceships are
dragon.
almost playing like a bullet hell type shooter, but you don't have a very fast and agile ship to handle that.
You definitely have to. It's definitely expecting you to pick up some power ups, and until you do, dodge.
Yeah, but they're very slow coming and few in between because you can't shoot most of the ships.
Yeah.
You end up letting most ships go off screen and actually destroying them.
Well, they take more.
They take more than one hit too.
Yeah. It has a pretty decent boss battle at the end of the first stage, which I thought was good. Not. It's still very tough if you aren't powered up, but it's complicated. Like there's a lot of things going on. Just, you know, like your hardcore, side-scrolling shooter. It tried to do some sort of mechanic where you were mixing two types of elements in your attack, I think. I didn't quite get what was going on there, but it seemed like it was trying to do a couple of different things with the genre.
Next one up, Trivia Party, and I think that's our last game this week. It is.
Yep.
So this was better than I expected. Going into this, I expected another bad trivia game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad trivia game with a so-so board game and mixed in. So it's kind of like Trivial Pursuit. You get the question right, you move. Only in this one, you always move. Even if you get the question wrong, it's whether you roll one dice or two. And on the board, there's lots of different move forward, bounce, swap places. I found myself playing the full 8 minutes, so I should come out and admit that I actually did pull the place in minutes, but I want to call some bullshit on the computer. It never missed a question on me.
Mine, it
but
did for me.
It would get questions like, what is the name, by what name do we call the star in our solar system or something? And you're like, the sun? Are you kidding me? And then, I would get, in what year was the storming of the Bastille? And they would be like, 1776, 1773, 1774. It's like, fuck you all.
I did encounter, speaking of the question choice, The mix was pretty decent, but I did get the same question twice in a row, I believe.
Oh, did you? I also got, like, who are the developers that made this game you haven't heard of? So
Homefront?
No, it wasn't Homefront. I would have heard of Homefront.
Okay, that was... No,
I picked Naughty Dog because I recognize the developer studio, but that was not right.
Actually, this game seems to be Mario Party without the mini games, which... I mean, because... Like, the dice rolling above your head and all that stuff, that's all, like, basically a clone of Mario Party. But I don't think the, it's not as interactive as Mario Party, so that was kind of my problem with the whole thing. Like, the trivia there needs to be something else.
It does. So that wraps up our new releases of the week. Game of the week time. So we did video on Ninja Reception, Orbitron Revolution, Thing from Japan, Volchaos,
Boobies.
We did Boobies, Uzi Earth Adventure, Boobies from Japan. I think that is a Japanese release. It is the same one who did the Veilous Dungeon and all of that.
Okay. We had suspected that, but we didn't confirm it last week.
So that's them. I would say I would cut down to 3 real quick here and say Uzi, Volcanoes, and Orbitron.
That is definitely the 3 I would pick, although I'm not... Like, I don't have a strong preference one way or the other.
So Uzi, again,
it feels like
great,
Uzi...
solid platformer, has no hook for me.
Yeah.
For
me,
Volchaos, I didn't get sucked into.
I think it has the hook. I just, like, the handling was a little bit slower than Uzi, so I kind of have that comparison.
Orbitron feels a little simple, but I didn't get to unlock more modes, so I don't know how the game is. But just going off the trial, it was a little simplistic.
It's a Defender clone, so...
Defender game. But I think that would be my first nod, would be Orbitron Revolution. Cicely, what about you?
I'm reluctant to give it to Uzi 2 just because it's a number 2, even though it's a great, great game. Orbitron and Volchaos look to be the ones in the running here.
Yeah,
that's not an answer.
I said Orbitron and Volchaos.
That's not an answer.
He's looking for one, and I'm in that same position that, like, yeah.
So Uzi is out. So it's Orbitron and Volchaos.
I can say that I got sucked into both of them, but
if
neither
you're
of them
asking me
are
which
my
one I'm going to
type
play,
of...
it's probably going to be Volchaos. Because Orbitron is really, really pretty. Really, really, really pretty.
There did seem to be more variety to Volchaos.
Okay, Cicely I'm taking as a Volchaos vote. So, it is once again Dylan's call.
Dun, 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 dun.
We got one way each. What will Dylan do?
Don't worry, you won't be drawn into passive aggressiveness no matter what you do.
Oh, I know. I'm not worried about that. It's just making a choice. Like you said, I'm kind of with you that Orbitron is really, really pretty. Not really my thing as far as, like, the Defender. It kind of feels simple. Good gameplay. I'm not knocking it for that. Volchaos, I think I got more into Volchaos just because, more levels.
So final answer?
Volchaos.
Volchaos. All right. So Volchaos is GameMarx Game of the Week. Check, we should have your video up Monday. Congratulations. So, all right. That is, the funny thing is no, we didn't have any Orbitron guys in there. We had some fun-infused co-fans in that, but yeah, that's so diplomatic in the chat. That's really what it comes down to. Some weeks, some weeks though we're willing to fight for our game. Some weeks we have a more impassioned.
Well, it also depends on the type of games, like whether they appeal to us. So
yeah, and that's the other thing. That's a big thing with the small limited thing. It will get interesting because we will be doing Game of the Year for 2011, because as 2011 wraps up, we would have played. All of us will have played almost every game, and between all of us, we have played every game released this year on Xbox Live Indie Games. I didn't pull a stat to figure out how many games that is, but we might be into close to maybe 600 games. I have to look at the rate of increase again this year, but I want to say that somewhere we're going to land somewhere north of 500 games. So I got a little bit of database work before we get down there to go back and tag our games of the week and figure out what all our votes were and what all of our top fives and all of those were, so we can at least start from a list of these were what we called games of the week, these are what we called top fives, and so we could run down. Because there's games that may be great in Game of the Year that some weeks we had tough time. Remember when we used to limit to 5 games and just covered our top 5? It was a battle sometime to figure out what our top 5 were. If you go back and look at the beginning of the year when we were doing the couch show.
And a really good week, you were going to cut more on. There were some lean weeks where we had to just.
There were some lean weeks where we were like fighting on which ones to put in, or
screw it, none of them.
Yeah.
In the chat, there is a user voted nomination
for Game of the Week or Game of the Year.
Game of the Year,
which is
no, they want to do a user voted nomination for Game of the Year.
Oh yeah, some user votes. We should get a decent poll software or something going, and allow a couple categories to be fan voted on. This stuff will happen kind of in January because indie games, unlike AAA titles, aren't done. Like pretty soon here, all the AAA titles are out. There'll be no more releases because they're basically hitting Christmas, and then they're done. If you're this late, you'll just wait till the next year. And so, because all the magazines will be wrapping up their end of the year before Christmas, or during Christmas break and things like that. We can't do that because we really need to wait till the calendar year ends on that. So this will really take place in January. I'm not ready to discuss it yet, but if you're a developer of Xbox Live Indie Games and you have some extra tokens, maybe somebody didn't review the games, or you held them back, or you still got them. For whatever reason, you've got tokens left that you're willing to give away. Shoot us an email at contacts@gamemarx.com. We got something cooking for kind of an end-of-the-year
post-holiday grab bag giveaway.
Did you not understand any part of not ready to talk about anything yet?
Nope.
The alcohol is kind of a cloud for the. Oh.
So, yeah. There's just we're gonna do something. There's a lot to it that I don't want to try to string out and talk about before it's done and it's ready, and the scope of which needs to be seen at once is basically what I'm getting at.
We don't know how much big it's gonna get.
So I'm gonna turn your mic off now.
Okay.
Are you really?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yeah, I just.
You have reached a new low or high or.
I think I turned down her mic. Who's number 1? That might have been you, Dylan.
Hello?
Yeah, I turned you down, Dylan. That's
you start trying to hurt other people. You hurt someone.
Yeah.
You get back at them and you hurt other people in the process.
That's just what happened. That's the way it goes.
We've reached a new high or low, whichever.
We have. Let's end on that low point. Um,
I should go hang out in the corner over
You
there.
should probably not say anything else.
yes. So,
Point.
on the codes, if you're sending in, we are looking at doing multiple for one game. So if you have one game, you have multiple, but don't get crazy on it. I don't think more than 5 for one game. We're not going to dump all your 50 copies.
Contact us and we will explain.
Yeah,
then you
and
can
we'll get
decide.
a little bit more going on there and what's going on. We're gonna have some fun with it, and maybe we'll get this thing bigger, and get some press out of it. There's a snowball's chance in hell Microsoft notices it and does something. Probably not. Don't expect anything like that.
It's not an uprising.
No, it's not an uprising. It's not an
situation,
uprising.
so-
That's not what we're trying to do. On that. So thank you everyone for tuning into the live show, listening to the podcast. We will be back again in a week, and I will have some dubstep updates.